Government is therefore calling upon farmers to continue production for food security of the country and to other value chains actors to play their part. In order to avoid food shortages, it is imperative that we keep the food supply chains going. The supply of staple commodities must function well, and farm, livestock, and fish production inputs and produce need to be transported to where they are needed most. We are therefore working very closely with the stakeholders to urgently strike a balance between keeping production going and protecting all actors along the agricultural value chain. Therefore, I'd like to take this opportunity to assure Kenyans that the government is putting in place the necessary mechanisms to avert potential food shortages. Collaboratively, the national and county governments are working together to ensure that the agricultural sector continues its operations and that food is available, accessible, affordable, and safe for all Kenyan households. Currently, food supply is sufficient, and I urge Kenyans to resist panic buying, which will create an unwarranted shock in the market, pushing the cost of food up. We will also be closely monitoring the cost of food across the country and taking stern measures against traders who create artificial price inflation on food and agricultural inputs. The government has constituted a COVID-19 County Coordination and Food Security Committee comprised of the key sector ministries and Council of Governors under my chairmanship. Within 2 days, we shall be releasing guidelines to counties, food processors, transporters, farmers, input suppliers, veterinary practitioners, and other value chain actors, including the mamambogas operating across the country, on how to conduct their businesses while ensuring their own safety and that of their customers. As we commence planting season, I appeal to our farmers to continue with their farming activities. The government will continue facilitating farmers in accessing affordable inputs and extension support. The government has also made available fertilizers and other inputs at affordable prices through Kenya National Trading Corporation and NCPB stores across the country. And therefore, farmers are advised to visit these stores and access these inputs and continue with their farming activities and take advantage of the current rains to plant and weed their crops so that they continue with their livelihoods and also support to feed the nation. I also would like to assure the country that the government will be working round the clock to minimize disruptions to the food chain, and we have put in place a COVID-19 food security war room to swiftly address any emerging issues in the agricultural sector and the related value chains. I'm therefore calling upon all agro dealers and transporters to even be more vigilant in supporting farmers during this planting season and to take the COVID-19 safety precautions at their workplaces, in compliance with the Ministry of Health and the World Health Organization guidelines. Further, the government is putting in place mechanisms to support all players in the agricultural sector to continue with their operations. However, they have to observe the government curfew rules and the Ministry of Health guidelines. In other words, I'm saying, let farmers continue with their farming activities. Let agro dealers continue serving farmers. Let agro processors continue processing. Let transporters of food and agricultural produce continue with their operations. Veterinary services providers are also essential service providers, and therefore they are also allowed to continue providing their basic services. Let the fish folk also continue fishing and selling their fish, even as they observe the safety measures and the guidelines that have been provided by the Ministry of Health. We want to emphasize that the agricultural value chain must continue to operate and will be facilitated to function properly by the government. Thank you very much. That is basically the statement that I made. If there are any questions, I am open. If there are any clarifications you would want to seek, I'm open to the clarifications. Yes?
Just a clarification. Does this mean then that the trucks that are transporting food from various parts of the country can come to Nairobi even after the curfew hours, and fishermen in Victoria can continue fishing?
Yes, indeed. There are many agricultural and related activities that take place at night, especially transportation of farm produce from the countryside to the urban centers. It happens largely at night so that the food is available in the morning for the supermarkets and the other retailers to buy them. And I have had a discussion with the Ministry of Interior, and we have agreed that those who do transportation of food will therefore be allowed to transport their farm produce any time of the day and night. And if you look at the curfew guidelines, you will find that food is already classified as an essential commodity, and therefore it is one of the exceptions to the curfew regulations. So police and provincial administration across the country are therefore required to provide safe passage for transporters of food wherever they are taking it from. Of course, the usual precautions, inspections of those vehicles to ensure that they are carrying out, they are observing the guidelines that have been provided will take place. But the instructions from the government is to ensure that there is no interruption. There is minimal interruption in the agricultural activities, because at the end of the day, this nation must also be fed, and people must also be secured from the crisis that would come if there was no farming going on. Remember, our economy is largely agricultural based. In fact, food production contributes 32% of our economy, and if you combine with the transportation and the processing, 57% of our GDP is generated by the agricultural sector. So even as we observe safety measures and we ensure that the guidelines that have been provided by the Ministry of Health and the coordinating committee in the interior are followed, we also want to ensure that the farming activities continue and the food processing and other related activities are also continuing. But we are asking all the actors in the value chain to observe basic hygiene, to sanitize, to wash their hands. If you are visiting an agro dealer, make sure you have washed your hands before you enter the shop. Even as you buy what you buy, make sure that you also, again, wash your hands. All the guidelines that have been provided by the ministry will be observed as we go along with our daily activities that are very critical at this planting season. And I have already said in my statement, detailed guidelines are going to be issued. In fact, we are working on them now that will be transmitted to the counties and to the government officers at the county level, the national government officers at the county level who will be enforcing these guidelines. We want to ensure that markets are still functional, farmers can still take their produce to the market and be able to sell their produce so that people are able to access food. People are able to buy food, but we are issuing guidelines to guide on how the markets will be run, ensuring social distancing, ensuring basic hygiene, ensuring washing of hands, ensuring people don't crowd in the market when they are buying, etc., etc. Those guidelines are being concluded now, and we will be releasing them by the end of the day tomorrow. Yes.
My name is Leonard from West Chief. On the issue of inputs, this is a time when farmers are exploited through the prices of the fertilizer seeds. Maybe what is the government doing to ensure that the prices they are getting are within the standard?
If you are aware, you must remember that we did engage with fertilizer producers, and already contractual agreements have been entered between NCPB and the Kenya National Trading Corporation for the producers, fertilizer processor, to supply fertilizers and other inputs at affordable prices. In fact, I can give you the price of DAP, for example, is retailing at 2,300, down from around 3,000, 2,800. So if you go to KNTC stores now, or NCPB stores now, you will find DAP fertilizer, various varieties of that fertilizer, retailing at that price in all the shops across the country. So is the stores that are run by NCPB. You will also see that coffee fertilizer, which used to retail at over 3,000, is now retailing at 2,000. There is the coffee fertilizer that is produced by a company called Minjingu, which has a lot of minerals added to it. It's also retailing at that price. OCP fertilizer, 8-inch fertilizer, we decided to negotiate directly with the processors so that we can cut the middlemen who are increasing prices and exploiting farmers. So those fertilizers and other inputs are already retailing in those stores I've mentioned, and even other private citizens have also brought down the cost of their fertilizer for them to compete with those prices. So we don't have any shortage right now of inputs, and therefore that is why we are asking farmers and agro dealers to keep their stores open, and farmers to be assisted by the government to access those stores to be able to buy their inputs so that farming activities can kick off. We are also asking the provincial administrators and even the police also to assist farmers to go to their farms. In fact, there was a report that somewhere there were some administrators who are stopping farmers from going to their farms. So we want to assure the public that the curfew does not in any way mean that farming activities stop or workers stop going to work, as long as the workers observe the basic guidelines for their own safety and safety of the general public. As long as they observe those basic guidelines and safety measures, then they should be able to go on with their farming activities. Indeed, If you are walking to farm very far away from your home and takes you time to reach home, all you need to do is explain to the police that you are from your farm and it is a distance and therefore you may arrive late. It does not mean that you shouldn't make an effort to be home early to take care of the curfew. We are just saying in case you are delayed because of your farming activities, then national government and the county government officers have already been advised to assist and to make sure that nobody is victimized for, getting late because, his farm is 10 kilometers away from his home, and therefore he has to go and plant. And all he requires is to be able to explain to the police that that's where he's coming from. And therefore he will be assisted to reach his home. Indeed, that applies, as I've already explained, to transporters who must transport essential goods that include food across the country to the markets and to the processing factories at night. Yes.
My name is Brian Ogola. I work for Kitchen News. I wish to front two questions. Let me start with the locusts. You see, food security in this country was threatened by the scare of locusts, which your predecessor told us to take pictures, and then a few days later he told us that the old ones were dying. And since then we haven't really had an update about how exactly the situation of the locusts are, and given that we are currently facing this particular pandemic, Kenyans will be interested to know what is the state of the locust invasion in the country, given that it was really ravaging farms across this country. My second question would be, the government has asked local manufacturers to be ensured or rather supported them, like the state are saying. What are we doing to ensure that even as we support local manufacturers, we must also be alive to the fact that this is also a period when counterfeiters are making a kill, and Kenyans could actually be falling into the hands of counterfeiters. A lot of counterfeit products will be produced. We have sanitizers on the roads with homemade stickers calling them sanitizers, and a number of other goods in case we fall into that bracket whereby food security is a problem which should not envisage. How exactly are we going to deal with that particular issue of counterfeits?
Yes, indeed. A crisis like this also invites many other negative consequences, like counterfeiters and those who trade in fakes infiltrating the market, and we are alive to that. We are calling upon all the government agencies that are engaged in ensuring that counterfeits and fakes are not sold in our markets, to enforce the standards very strictly. Indeed, especially in this planting season, we are asking KEFIS and other institutions that are engaged in enforcing quality of seeds and quality of other products that are supposed to be sold in this season to rise to the occasion and ensure that those traders don't take advantage of the farmers at this difficult time. And in the same vein, we are also, government is also alive to misinformation, especially in social media. If you followed news the other day, there were people who are saying, for example, Kenya seed factories, stores are closed, which was not true. I think it's probably those counterfeiters who wanted to take advantage of that situation to sell counterfeit seeds. Kenya seed factories stores are open, seeds are being sold across the country, and legitimate seed suppliers are also operating in the market. But we are saying we need now more vigilance in terms of the agencies that are enforcing, including the police, including the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, KEFIS, KEPs, in fact this is the time also KEPs should be very vigilant and very active in the market. Also observing the safety measures that the government has provided even as they go along about their businesses, ensuring that food is secure and safety of food is also safe for consumers. The issue of locusts, I've been briefing you, I think last week or the week before. I called the media and explained to them that we are increasing our activities in terms of containing the locusts, and I would want to announce really we have made a lot of progress in containing the locust menace. We may not be talking about it every day, but we have planes, 6 planes, not 5, because even the one that stopped has already been brought back. We have 6 planes that are spraying locusts every day, every morning and every evening, early evening when the locusts congregate. We have those planes out there being coordinated from our coordination center here in Kilimo House and the command center in Isiolo. And we keep abreast of what is happening every day. Some counties that are locusts are now locust free, like Kitui, because we intensified the ground spraying and the aerial spraying. Tharaka-Nithi is almost largely also locust free, even though there is a swarm or two that keep moving across the region. A very small swarm that that now is somewhere in next to Meru National Park. Meru and the officers on the ground are tracking, and at an appropriate place where they will roast, it will also be sprayed. Sometimes there is a misunderstanding. People think that you must spray at every point. We take precautionary measures because if the locusts are somewhere where there is a home or water or other environmental precautions we take when we are dealing with them. So sometimes we do monitoring until at the appropriate time when we can do other measures like spraying. Therefore, the locust menace is with us, but we have done a lot of work to contain it, and we believe we will be reaching actually a decisive moment in the next 2 weeks, because right now we are intensifying our spraying in the epicenter counties of Marsabit, Samburu, Isiolo. That is where this menace is very big, but we've been doing a lot of work there, and I think we are turning a corner in terms of containing that problem. We've been spraying in parts of Nakuru. There was a spillover there. We've largely succeeded. There was a few of them in a few small swarms in Nyandarua, which we have sprayed, like Kipia, we've been spraying. So really, if we were to give you, we think we have made very steady progress in containing the locust menace, and especially ensuring that our food basket is not affected by the locusts. And we believe even in the pastoral areas, we are turning a corner, and in 2 weeks, given the intensity of the activities that are going on right now as we speak, we will be announcing very good results. Yes, should that be the last one? Yes, Jambo. Ni vizuri kujua ya kwamba kwa sasa serikali imebadilisha policy yetu ya kununua chakula na kuweka kwa ghala za serikali. Tumebadilisha, tunataka wanabiashara na washuuzi wawe ndio wanaweka, wako na stores za mahindi na stores za serikali. Saa hii tumefungua, wale wanabiashara wanataka kuzitumia pia wanaweza kupewa nafasi waweze kuzitumia. So the old policy where government was buying food and storing is changing. Now we want to use the private sector we monitor the food where it is. And if we need it, because we have the money, we keep the money, then we can be able to buy and be able to distribute. But directly storing of food is a policy we are rethinking because it is wasteful. It also taken advantage of by corruption networks to fleece the public. So we are rethinking the whole exercise, and as already you are aware, we are now managing the strategic food reserve and then CPB to bring those synergies together, and the innovation of food security will be largely a monitoring tool to be advising governments on what to do to intervene in the markets, not necessarily to store food directly. We are moving away to giving coupons and e-vouchers to those who are needy, those who require food. They can have e-vouchers, then they can be able to buy the food themselves directly. And then government can ensure that that food is available and affordable. And then the private sector are able to sell that food. That's where we are moving to. Even right now, as you are aware, we are mapping the vulnerable households in this coronavirus era to ensure that they are supported with food. And again, the system we are adopting is using technology to make sure that we have correct data on where those vulnerable families are and how many they are, and then government will be able to provide vouchers that will be utilized in buying the food, and of course ensuring that there are stores nearby that are open for them to buy food. Therefore, as I said very early, we want to ensure our monitoring mechanism is there, and there is no cause for alarm right now. Food is available. We have a balance sheet on maize, which the PS will distribute to you. You can go and read for yourself. We already authorized the buying of the importation of 2 million bags of maize, and the Gazette notice that will allow the private sector to import that maize is coming out any time from now. It's already been drafted, it's already with the Attorney General and the Treasury Cabinet Secretary. Once that Gazette notice is out, those who are in food processing and food selling business will have an opportunity to import a maximum of 2 million bags of white maize and 2 million bags of yellow maize. The 2 million bags of white maize will attract 14% duty, so that we maintain the prices that are there. We want to ensure that the maize that is imported is not cheaper than the maize that is obtaining in the country. We want to maintain the pricing level so that farmers are not hurt by those importations. The yellow maize, which is meant for animal feed and will largely be restricted, the importation will be restricted to those who are processing animal feed, will attract 10% duty. To make, again, remember our animal feed is quite expensive, to make sure that there is available animal feed that is affordable in the country. So these are measures to ensure availability of food and also availability of feed for our livestock, as we ensure that we manage the crisis that we are confronting at this particular time. So thank you very much.